All right, I think we can go ahead and get started today. So thank you guys once again for joining. My name is Jim Coppinger with ZenTek Consultants, and today we're going to be talking about comparing documents in Bluebeam Revu, one of the most important and simple to use tools that are built into Bluebeam. So hopefully you guys will get some good information out of today's presentation. So for those of you who haven't been with us before, we are ZenTek Consultants. We're a premier Bluebeam partner as well as being a Microsoft Cloud Solutions provider. We work primarily with AEC firms in terms of software sales, implementation, configuration, and as you can see by today's presentation, training. So that's what we do for you guys. So whatever your technology needs are in the AEC, all the way from your CAD stuff all the way on, we're here to help. Okay, so today we're going to talk about dealing with how to compare documents, right? And it's one of those really big challenges. Whether you're doing design review or estimating or whatever it is you're working on, it would be nice if you got one set of documents and that was it for the entire project. We'd all love that. But the reality of it is the design documents are going to change at least 2 or 3 times, if not 15 or more, depending on where you are in the process, okay, within that construction chain. But the great thing is that Revu has a set of built-in tools that can help you go in and identify changes between one version of a drawing and the next. Okay, so it kind of, if you're lucky and the architect rev bubbled everything and it's easy to find, that's good, but you can't always trust that because sometimes things got erased that the architect didn't mean to erase, or things have been missing or changed and they were discussed but not revved, right? And that's the kind of thing that Revu can really help you work with. So having said that, it's demo time. So let's go ahead and I'm going to jump over to Revu, and we're going to talk about a couple of the tools that we have built in here that you can work with. And you see that what I have here are 2 files open, 3 sheets in each one, right? So it's just sheets 3, 4, and 5, right, from my civil site set here. All right, and I've got a revision for each of those 3 drawings. All right, so they came to me as 2 completely separate files for the 3 documents. So that's what we're going to work with for the demo. But the first thing that I do want to show you guys is how to work with the concept of multiple viewing panes. It's one of those areas where I use it constantly inside of Bluebeam Revu. I think it's one of the greatest features that it has, and I'm always surprised at how many people don't realize that you have the capability inside of Bluebeam to be able to go in and to actively split your screen into multiple views. So what does that do for you? Well, it does a couple of things. Right? For starters, I can actually look within the same document. I can look at different sheets. So if I want to look at sheet number 1 in my first window, and I can click over here in the second window, and I can look at sheet number 2. Okay? Now, these are actually copies of the same plan, so they don't look dramatically different. But I can also go in this second chain, and I can actually change one of these over to a completely different drawing. So you see now I'm looking at sheet number 1, and you can see that there is actually a difference between the original, which is here on the right, and my new revised one, which is over here on the left. Okay, so you can see just using a basic visual structure, you can do that. And what's great about that is that you can actually synchronize these viewports. So when I go in and say, okay, something happened over in this area over here, it's different. You'll notice that as I zoom in on this area and pan, that it's actively zooming and panning for me in the other drawing. So I can actually look at visually, manually, just by zooming and panning within this split window structure. I can find my own changes, right? I can go in and say, hey, that looks different. And it was pretty obvious that this was a different structure over here than I had in the original plan. So we can see that they extinguished some lot lines here and made a dedicated open space. So that's really nice. The other thing, which isn't necessarily comparing documents, but the great thing about this is that you can actively kind of unsync these and use this as a great way to kind of look at different areas. So say, for example, and I'm just going to real quickly, I'm just throw a rectangle on here. So I'm just going to draw a rectangle. Say maybe there was a detail on one of your drawings. It's over there, right? And that detail referred to what's going on right up here at the intersection. Right? It had an intersection design detail. It's easy for you to go into a separate drawing or a different sheet and zoom to the detail and have the detail information to work in conjunction with your plan view. Right? And I know I'm using civil site documents here today just because I had those, so it was easy. But this concept works regardless whether you're doing MEP plans, structural, architectural, any PDF document will work exactly the same way. So that's great. So I have these split into 2 different views. So you see that's real nice. But I'm actually not limited to that. I can actually go in and I can start to kind of subdivide these windows, right? So I can go in and I can now split this window into additional windows, right? And I can go ahead back in. And now when I go in, you see I can sync 3 windows all at the same time in different documents, different drawings, right? Or like I said, if I want to keep this one and I want to make sure that I'm zoomed up real large, I want this whole detail to be real heavy and I want to look at different areas. Maybe I've got some specifications or some notes down here on the bottom I need to be able to read, okay, while I'm looking at the plan view of my intersection over here. Okay, so you see doing that document comparison, and again, remember, I'm in 2 completely different files here, right? These 2 are in one document or in one set, but I can actually even go in and look at a different sheet, okay, over in this area. So you see now in this one, I'm actually in sheet number 3. This one, I'm actually in sheet number 1, and over here, I'm in a completely different drawing. Okay, so I get that level of manual interaction. And a great thing to know about this is that you can do up to 16 different windows. It gets a little small, it gets a little crazy, but you can. And why would that be important? Well, the other thing I want to show you guys, which is just an absolutely fantastic tool, is that with Civil 3D, one of the things that you can do, right, and I'm going to, let me just maximize this back up real quick, turn my sync back on. Right, is that you can actually drag windows out of here. Okay, so if I go into here and you see they're all zoomed, they're all synchronized, right? So they're all kind of panned together. What I can do is I can actually take any one of these tabs out, and I can drag that to a completely different monitor. Okay, so you see now I've got my 3 views, but this is a completely independent, floating, separate version or running version of Bluebeam Revu. But you notice that even though that's dragged out, and I'm showing it here on one window because that's all I can share with you guys. But I have 3 monitors. I can easily just slide this off to my 2nd or 3rd monitor, right? And then I can go in, and now as I'm zoomed in and I'm synced, you'll notice that even the undocked one, all right, my entire other screen would be zooming in and out with me. And I can do the same thing here. I can drag this one out. And like I said, I can have 3 full drawings on 3 different monitors and see exactly what's going on and do file compare and so on. So a lot of stuff that you can do there. It's a really versatile tool, even on just the basic manual structure, right, on how to work with these. But so let's go ahead and actively now start talking about how, that's the manual process, right? I can go in and I can manually look for the differences between files, and that's nice. But let's talk about what happens when we want to go in and have Bluebeam go in and actively start, no, I don't want to save any changes. We want to have Bluebeam go in, excuse me, and start finding the changes for us. Right? The whole idea behind this presentation is that we want to take out that manual aspect, the things that people forgot to annotate or highlight for you. So what we're going to do, right, is we're going to go in and we're going to use the document comparison setup. And I'm going to compare documents. And what comes up, it lets you choose document A and document B. Right? So 99.9% of the time, document A, that's going to be your input document. That's the original file, the one that you already had, the old version. Okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and say, okay, that's my sheets 3 through 5 right here. So I'm going to open that. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up document B, which is the revised version. So this is my revision 1 of that file. Okay? So I want to see what changes were made in revision 1. And I just say open. Okay, so it's got a lot of different options here that you can play with. I can do all the pages in each drawing, or I can actually go in and do whatever the current page is, or if I say I just want to compare sheets 2 and 3, maybe they gave me that combined file, right? This sheets 3 through 5, but only file 4 was updated. It's not a problem. I can just go in here and just change it to a custom range and say I only want page 4. It's the only one I'm going to compare. Okay, so I get that structure to go as well. Where I want to save this to, I can change. And I can even go in and align. So if you have documents that are not printed to scale, if they're scanned versions, etc., you can actually go in and I can choose, this works better when you have a document open, but I can actually choose an area. Say if I know it was all on the north side of the road, I can just choose the north side of the road and have it look only in there. I don't usually bother with that. I find it does a pretty quick job doing it on its own. But if you have an extraordinarily large project, you can actually go into that and adjust that. All right, and I have this set to split screen, so it's automatically going to come up with that split screen we were just talking about, and I already have them synchronized, and I have it set to dim the compared, and you'll see what that is in a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and say OK. Right, and it'll take a second, and what it's going to do is it's going to open up both drawings. You see it's comparing both. It's doing an overlay process, and then it creates a new drawing. Okay, it's a hybrid drawing, right? And you see that it drops and grays everything out, right? And it highlights and red bubbles all the areas that it found on each sheet that are different. Okay, so what do I mean by that? So okay, you see, by the way, it leaves the original, that document A. That's why it's important to kind of keep in mind which document you choose first. It's going to leave your document A open. So here's the original drawing. Okay, so when I go in, and you see here's the original drawing, here's sheet number 1, and it's showing me that, hey, here are all the changes. So now if I go in and I zoom into this area and go, okay, what were the changes over here? Right, I need to know what's going on, so I can just zoom in and pan. See, so that split screen window we were just talking about comes into play. I can see exactly what happened. Okay, I can see that they extinguished the lot lines here, 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 and here. All right, and they pulled out the lot numbers. Okay, all right, and I can see exactly what went on here. And what's happening in the background, this is all grayed out. That's being handled by what's called my dimmer, right, which is down here. Right, and I can adjust the darkness. I can turn it off or on. So if I want to see the full drawing, or I can actually just change the how dark or how light that is. Okay, so it just kind of gives me that gray tone, so I can more easily see what has been changed. Right, and it highlights all of these individual changes in orange. And you see that it actually does that. And I said this one was pretty easy to find, right? We said before it was pretty obvious what was going on in that drawing. So that's the only area that was changed on sheet number 1. But if I go over to sheet number 2, right, you can start to see that, okay, things were changed on sheet number 2. What was changed? All right, let's go in and zoom in and see, and we'll say, oh, okay, I see what happened. All right, so here in sheet number 2, they actually got rid of lots 13, 12, 11, 12, and 13 here, killed the 2 lines in between them, and made it one big site. And so apparently someone who was wealthy wanted a bigger yard, so they went in and they bought all 3 lots, and they're going to put one giant house on here. Okay, so no problem. So you notice I didn't have to do anything. I already found those. We hadn't even looked at this document yet. Same thing with sheet number 3. When I click over on that and do my zoom extents, you see that, oh, okay, I got the same thing going on down here. So if I can go in and zoom in this area, and again, you know, these changes are actually pretty simple ones I did just kind of for demo purposes. But you can see that what happened down here, same thing. They got rid of a few lots, and they're going to make this a detention pond out in this area. Okay, so they eliminated a few of the design lots. So it's real easy for me to just look at these and see exactly what's been changed. So that's fantastic, right? I can very quickly, just by going in, opening up 2 documents, it will find any and all changes, regardless of whether or not the architect remembered to actually go in and red bubble and highlight everything. Bluebeam will do it for you, right? And like I said, the great thing about this is that this will actually catch not just like formal revision areas, but if someone accidentally erased lot 36 here, they erased the bubble by mistake. Okay, they didn't know they did it, they didn't realize they did it. It will show me that was done, and then I can call the architect and go, hey, what's going on with lot 36? I don't see what's happening over there. And they'll be like, well, nothing. It's all good. I'm, well, not on my drawing. It's showing that it's gone. So it gives you that extra level of, you know, letting the computer look for areas that maybe were accidental erasures or changes, or if someone froze a layer in the CAD system. It's a lot of functionality that's really, really helpful there. Okay, so that's how you can go in and you can very, very easily compare your documents side by side. Now, the other thing that I really like about the way that Bluebeam Revu handles this, this document comparison, is that you'll notice that I can actually click on these, that they're actually Bluebeam markups. Right? Why is that beneficial? Well, it's beneficial because it actually adds those to my markups list. Okay, so that as I go in, I can actively go in, and if if I'm zoomed out to different areas, I can pick a single one. You see, it kind of highlights. Okay, here's the first one, right? So I can zoom in on that area and see what's going on there. And now I've got a whole bunch of different things that I can do. I have check marks, right? So I can go in, I hit the check mark, say, okay, I see what's going on with that one. Okay, and then I can go to the next one. Okay, yep, I saw what was going on with that one. We acknowledge that. Okay, but to go along with that, I can also integrate into my my difference checks. I don't want to call these markups. I don't want to. We didn't manually place these. So into these differences, I can actually go in and I can do things like apply statuses. So I can look at that and say, okay, yeah, we accept that change. That's a good change. It was accepted by me today at this time, and it'll keep a record of that in the document. I can go to this one and go, no, we're not going to do that. There was a change, or nope, we're going to reject that one. Okay, and again, if you guys are familiar with some of the other things you can do inside a review, you can actually customize and build your own statuses that you can apply. So it's approved, reviewed, pending, being discussed, whatever it is that you want to be able to track in regards to any of these differences. Okay, and then the other thing that you can do once you get these put into place. Okay, so like I said, I can go down and I can do check marks, I can do statuses on every one, accept, reject, canceled, completed. All right. The other thing I can do is if I go in and I pick any one of these, and if I go to the Properties tab, okay, for this particular item, so when I pick on this, you notice that it is locked. If I simply unlock these, I can actually go in and I can start to kind of add RFIs almost right in place, right? Not sure what's going on here. Clarify. Okay, and I can just go ahead and apply it. Now you see that now shows up in my comments list, right? And if I'm working these in real time through Studio, as I do that, people will see that come up. If not, I can at the end, I can extract a summary report for each of these, okay? Or I can just send the PDF back to the original sending and just say, hey, here are my questions. What's going on with this thing? And then I can go in and set my status, and I can put this, instead of on rejected, I'll put on hold, waiting for reply. Whatever it is, right? I'm going to uncheck it because that one's not done or approved, right? And I go, that one's good, that one's good. I understand what's going on here. That's fine, okay? And then I can go in and I can, modify the other ones, right? I can even change the subjects to different things, right? So if I want to group them all, maybe I have different differences. That's kind of repetitive. I have different revisions within a single drawing. Maybe I have revision 1 or revision 2. And I'm comparing the original document against those two revisions. I can just go in and I can actually change the subject, and all the ones that were from revision 1, I can just change it to a subject of revision 1, and that can kind of sort and filter which ones go to which revision. Okay, a lot of functionality that I have available here inside of Bluebeam to deal with document differences and how to review that. Okay, so that's kind of the really great setup that you can do. So keep in mind that you can go and you can manually adjust these, but it's also just a very easy thing. Let me just go ahead and minimize my properties dialog box here. Okay, for you to go to your document comparison, right, and do just a straight, one document to another comparison. Okay, and the other thing that I do want to mention, we're not really going to get into how to do it today, but actually Bluebeam has a batch document compare structure, right? That right here I'm comparing document 1 against document 2. It allows me to do one document against another, no matter how many pages, right? This first document A could have 600 pages in it, and this one could have 600 pages in it, and that's fine, right? I'm just comparing one PDF file against another PDF file, but there are actually batch tools inside of Revu that actually let you go in. When you have Bluebeam Revu Extreme, right, where I can actually do a batch compare documents, where I can pick, if I have 500 different PDF files, right, and 300 of them were revised, I just pick, and you say I can choose by folders, right, including subfolders, and it will actually go through and do a batch processing process for me, where I can actively take care of hundreds and hundreds of documents. And what's great about that is that if you guys took a quick look, again, I'm not going to go into how to do this, it requires a little bit of training, but I can actually save those batch files. So if I have a large-scale project, say we're doing an airport, okay, and maybe there are 300 construction documents for the airport, and I need to have those updated on a weekly basis, right? We're getting constant updates because we're doing a design build process, right? We're really moving. We've got a whole BIM interaction going on. As those weekly updates come in, I can just overwrite last week's files with this week's files and rerun that saved batch process and instantly get this result on every single drawing. Okay, so I can see exactly as I go from file to file to file to file what was different from last week to this week, what changed on the design this week. Okay, so a lot of really great functionality built into this document compare process inside of Bluebeam Revu. Okay, so having said that, I am going to jump back, and I'm going to thank you guys for joining us today. Hopefully you got some good information out of that. And if you guys have any questions for anything that I covered today, if there's anything we can do to help you guys or your staff with Bluebeam, whether it's training or sales or support, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. My contact information, the company contact information, is up on screen, and I really look forward to hearing from you guys. So I want to thank you again, and I hope you'll have an absolutely wonderful day.